Alrighty. As you guys know, I live off grid and I like having junk on the front lawn. Just the hillbilly way. Actually, I'm going to start trying to clear a bit of this out. I used to run out of things to do and I knew I still had to clear some of this, and I got some sheet metal over there too. That just couldn't be stuffed. Box sawing gets boring, but it's still less boring than moving shit off the front lawn. I might lose my identity as a hillbilly. Look at this heap of shit. It's probably going to go before long. This is all just collapsing. So anyway, brought to mind something somebody said. Basically a troll, but on occasion I do answer trolls. Just sucking a lollipop here. Anyways, some people, of course, have questioned my standard of living and whatnot. And I must admit, when you look at this side of the house, it looks terrible, you know. But I will tell you, the house my sister's living in has a roof worse than that, which may be hard to believe, but it's actually true. And as a lot of you who are already married know, marriage does involve some compromises, of course. You know, you can't just slam your foot down and say this is the way it's going to be, because otherwise all you're going to get is some girl moving from a third world country or something like that. And long story short, you know, that's about all you can expect if your standard of living isn't alright-ish. Even with some of these girls who do come over, you know, they're looking for they don't move from being a peasant to go all the way overseas to be a peasant again. You know what I'm saying? And all the stuff that love conquers all, and nah. Girls have had expectations since day one. They really have. I've seen a thumbnail of something, I didn't watch it, on why girls destroy societies, which I just said, well, fuck me, if that isn't sexist, I don't know what isn't. But I think it may be the always pushing for a higher standard of living and whatnot. But let's face it, you know, since Edward Bernays invented consumerism, that's changed the whole paradigm. People gagging to get, and it's not just women, it's men as well, gagging to get stuff that's utter Chinese shit that they don't even need. But anyway, in terms of getting a girl and all that, I realise full well that I may have to improve things a bit, and that's just the way it's going to be. Now, some people ask why I don't paint the insides, you know, that I paint all the outside of this place. The insides, for the most part, are actually plywood like that. I don't believe this camera is actually showing it with this amount of light. But a lot of this here, you're not going to believe it, but that's a grey, like you see, sort of seen in the hook there. Whole lot's just been smoke stain. Trouble is, a lot of it's lead paint, but I did actually try and sand back all this lot. And a lot of sap from the heat of the fire. It draws the sap out of the wood, so there's a lot of sap when I was trying to get up through this part here. But I realise one of the things that's going to happen is paint the inside of the house. Now, I'm not going to do it because I know that if I do it, the colour won't be bloody right and it'll get changed anyway. So if there's a girl, she can work out what she wants to do with it. I did paint the front door. I tend to notice, and I have done this sometimes, here's where it goes dark, there's a bit of dirt and rubbish on the floor. Now this comes from him having dogs inside the house and whatnot. Not dirt on the floor, dirt on, like dirty spatters on the thing. There's actually a change in paint colour areas there, but on the doors too. And sometimes I actually get out a wet rag and I give it a clean, and they've come up quite alright, particularly the front door. Come up a lot better. This door's living on limited time. That is all cracked in the back of there, and it's actually fairly bad, and it has been before I even lived here. The spiders never leave. I've gone and cleared all the flipping roof off of all these little sort of things. 2 weeks later, it's back to square one. A lot of these things are cosmetic. I've realised this for a long time. Back in 2004, you know, I realised it full on then when we were building pergolas. And we had this stupid little crappy cover that used to hide a few screws, and it's just a little plastic piece of shit. And of course you'd be doing silicon for the gutter, so you'd have a bit of silicon, you whack it on the back of that and go, because it had this little clip thing, and the clip thing never seemed to frickin' work. Anyway, they put it on. It was a bit of a dusty day or whatever, and they put it on. There's too much dust on there, and of course the silicon didn't hold it, because the silicon went onto dust on the steel and fell off. And this female customer came out and said, "Oh, what's this? This fell off. Is this going to change the structural strength of it?" I felt like snapping the thing in front of her hands and saying, "Do you think this heap of shit cover had any structural strength?" Because the first time I seen a female actually use the word structural strength. Maybe her husband was an engineer or something. And at that point I realised it was never about structural strength or structural integrity. I'm someone who'll go and look at all the framing, you know, and I'll get the level out. And women ain't like that. It doesn't work like that. Unless you're my sister, who is close to being a qualified mechanical engineer. Anyways, just as I've done the outside of this cottage, I don't think it'd be too much to obviously paint the inside of the cottage. And a lot of these things with women, it's cosmetics. I mean, this thing is a dying house. There's no question about it. But I'll give you an example. Yeah, a little latch. Now that's what I put there so that the door sort of stays closed, particularly when Black Kitty walks through the cat flap, because she's got to push it back the other way. I don't want the door open in the middle of the night and letting all the heat out when she decides to go for the midnight stretch / stalk clumps of grass for mice that she sometimes does. The hole for that should have enough light. Should only be about that big, and it's needed to be like about that big, and only in recent weeks have I dug out another bloody 1/4 inch. I don't know if it's a 1/4 inch, if it's more than 1/8 of an inch that I've had to dig out. 5 years on, the bloody stumps are still moving, regardless of all the bracing straps that are inside the damn walls to keep it all straight. But you know, a girl wouldn't be too worried about all that sort of stuff. As some of you know, I'm going to get a toilet system, and most likely it's going to go right there, so I've got to move a lot of firewood. I'm going to change all this glass. That is the one thing that is going to have to change, and I know it. There's a decent toilet system. And I was going to have it, you know, reset it up in there, or whatever, and my parents said no, it's going to be inside the house. And yeah, they're right, it has to be for a young lass. The other one is, that hot water system isn't too bad. I mean, it's still running, but it's stuck on a set temperature, and that is supposed to be only used for weekend trips, and I've been using the bastard for more than 5 years now. I mean, the first one didn't last very long at all before it blew up, but the second one, it's been more than 5 years I've been using it damn near every day. So anyway, brother-in-law got one, and oh, you little bastard. I don't like the look of all these. Couple of feathers there. Oh, shit. Black kitty might have taken out a bird by the looks. Bastard. Anyways, brother-in-law has got a hot water system that has basically got a digital temperature readout on the front, and it's a semi-portable one, and I saw the thing advertised on a website from a Queensland guy who distributes that one. I'm not certain. I've been talking to RV people last time I went to an RV show a couple of years ago, and they thought they knew what it was rebadged as, so I could buy it directly in the capital. But he got one from the guy in Queensland, and it's really substantially quite good. It does have a 12-volt pump that comes with it to maintain a pressure. I've already got a 12-volt pump in there, as you guys know. It's the bloody expensive, was it $325 or something? 12-volt, 16.5 litres a minute. I think it worked out 5.4 gallons or something. I forget now, 5.6 gallons. Maybe 6.5 gallons. Something like that, 16 litres a minute. Can handle warm water as well as cold water. Rubberised impeller, bronze outer casting that the impeller's in. It sort of runs reasonably noisy, but it's a brilliant one. And this one is supposed to run off overhead tank pressure, and theoretically should run off my overhead tank pressure. If that doesn't play ball enough, then we just end up using the 12-volt water pump. What they've done is actually put a little garden shed at the back of the bathroom and mounted in that to a pressure pump, because they're on the grid, and then the pressure pump's hooked onto one of their tanks. And it works brilliant. It works flaming brilliant. I used it when they were still living down in the barn trying to fix the house up, and I've used it since it's been in the house. And it's got an adjustable temperature on the front of it. So I think you can adjust water flow and temperature. There's a few knobs there, and then a temperature readout. $600, and I'll tell you what, considering I paid bloody too much for this other little thing, yeah, $600 will be a good bloody hot water system, and they are flaming good. The other one is the house itself. You know, some people, oh, you need another house. I don't really feel like it, but I think if push come to shove, I could build a tiny home. There's one I did look at on the internet. It was 12 by 12 by 14 or something like that. It's sort of almost like a miniature double story. It's almost like you've got a lower section where you sleep, and then the main living area's sort of midway up, and that's where your entrance is, and then you got a higher area that's got like a kitchen or whatnot in it. Only small, looks bloody brilliant. And long story short, I sort of calculated how much it would cost me to do it, and I could probably put accessories and all in it. I mean, I had a dishwasher. I'm not getting a damn dishwasher. We're off the grid here, you know. It's not that easy. Or it'll take a damn bigger generator and all this other crap that I don't have. But never mind the accessories. To build this one to the standard it was, even with the accessories, it would have been about $5 grand, I worked out. Without them, yeah, knock off a couple of grand. And as much as I would rather keep this house the way it is, like as in stay in that specific cottage and save up money to one day build a new house, which is just going to have to happen eventually, I would be quite willing to make a tiny home in the interim if they absolutely cannot handle this house in here, this cottage here. But this is the thing, I'm not drowning myself in debt to build a new place. A big one. I will, however, magically whip out a few $1,000s from nowhere and, you know, build a tiny home or something like that. Out of new materials, you know, something that looks decent, plaster walls, blah blah. Actually, I must admit, some of you guys, I'm sure you got these in the States, we call them Atco huts, ATCO. It's a common brand of them. I know you do have them in the States because I've seen it on flipping TV shows like Big Dog Oil Rigging or whatever it was. Site offices. I used to think they were like $5 grand each. I've found you can get small ones at this blooming repossession auction site for $300. Now I wouldn't expect a girl to live in one of those, although some girls may be willing. And the $300 one's only a small one, but you can get bigger ones from them and whatnot. I really think they're hot boxes. Where my dad worked, vineyard he was at for the majority of his, not the one he was at just for, he was at one part-time before his full retirement. He sort of semi-retired there for about a year and a half before he started getting his old age pension. Not the one he was working at part-time, but prior to that, the one he worked at for years that I ended up working at as well. The lunch rooms and the offices, they were all built out of them. And like brand new ones, and they'd been custom fitted out, and they had air conditioning and a whole frickin' lot attached on them. And I mean, you know, they put decking out the front of it with a little veranda over the decking, and yeah, look quite alright. But carpeted floors, you name it. And the internal walls were plaster as well. Yeah. But I don't, you know, those, they build up so much heat in the summer, you're just about cooked to death. You know, people used to have salads and stuff, and they'd leave it in the lunchbox, and they'd go rotten in the lunchbox the same bloody day, like literally within a few hours, because they're too hot inside. But I don't know if they're any good at holding heat in the winter. But yeah, I've been seeing those as everything on this auction site. It's astronomically lower than I expected it to be. I've seen similar sized ones that they're trying to sell for, I think it was $1,200 or something like that, and $300 for those things. But I wouldn't realistically expect a girl to like one of those. But then again, you sort of look, you know, like the office space they had that was there. I mean, I personally think they're too hot. So does my father. And I'm not going to go run an air conditioner. They'd be too hot to be in the summer. But they got sort of like a double wide one, like you know, two of them joined together, and that was the office stand where he was. And you know, quite honestly, it did look like a normal room inside. Plaster walls, carpet on the floor, blah blah. You know, sliding glass doors, the whole shebang. You know, and if that tickled a fancy, hey, you know, I can get these sort of things. Yeah, and they're second hand. They've got conduit that's screwed into it, but you drill all the rivets out, you take all the conduit out, you know, and you go and set it up properly with plaster walls inside and probably plaster ceiling, and that's no big deal. You just get the standardised steel attachment screws and what? straight into the damn sheet metal, and you know, wouldn't be too bad. But I wouldn't go for it. But if she would, there you go. But at the end of the day, it'd actually probably be better to build a small tiny home that did handle things in the summer because it was insulated. Now, some people question if my bedroom's insulated. Yes, it is. It is ridiculously well insulated. Except that back wall there. This front one here is slightly insulated, but then that goes into another room anyway. I have... Oh, you can't hang on. Hang on. I don't know if you can see. The roof line is sort of on an angle, and then goes straight, and then drops down again, which you can't really see. In those, it like follows the bottom of the rafter. In either side, I've got insulation bats in those, which I think are only about 3 inches thick, because that's all I could fit in there. In the centre section, up around where my clothes are hanging here and all that, they are a foot thick up there. So, and I've got the silver foil and the whole lot. So it's actually quite a good room, this one. Winter and summer, or at least until about 3 o'clock in the afternoon anyway, or 4 o'clock or something like that. Sort of strange, you know, actually, because it's a twin gable, like this kitchen here is one gable over it, and then the bedroom's got another gable over the top of it. And what will happen is, in the morning in the summer, it'll heat this room up, but that bedroom remains cool, and only in the afternoon does the bedroom start to warm up. At which point the kitchen's hot, and it's probably going to stay hot. And at that point, then you're best to actually go and sit out under the trees. And often enough, what I do is, what I was doing was getting out near where the little water tank drum thingy was out there, and rip it on the misting fan, flat knacker, and going with that. And if you position your chair at the right point there, it's quite nice, that misting fan. But anyway, that's a few of the compromises I'd be willing to make. There's other things too, obviously. Obviously, I'm just going to have to like get all my tools out of that room there and just make that like a giant fucking walk-in wardrobe. As you can see, the only entrance to this room is through the bedroom. So if I get all my tools, I throw them all in a fucking dumpster and just go top to bottom fucking dress racks or something like that. Fuck that. I'm sure she'll need some more clothing space. We'll get a bit more cupboards or something at that point. I'll probably chuck a cupboard in that room, or something along those lines. You all know what I'm joking about here. Even me mother, who's like, she about 64 and a half, I think now. She has literally 4/5 to 5/6 worth of all the damn clothes in the cupboard at my parents' place. So yeah, of course I'm going to have to just buy another cupboard or two if I end up with a girl living here. The other one obviously too is car. If she doesn't have a car, I'll buy her a car. As for me getting cars, it's cheap as shit, and I know what to do to get most of them up to roadworthy standard, and that's no big deal. That's probably the least big deal of everything, because quite honestly, I can get ones that are quite nice for less than $1,000 and get them on the road. And if you're willing to spend $5,000 plus 11.5% buyer's commission and all that, you can actually get some really nice ones. And I've seen ones that are, you know, small cars. I looked at one, what was it? It would have been $5,500 or $6,500, I think it was, and it was 2013. And I'm like, I couldn't, like, woo! It was actually, I think it was a Ford Focus sedan, one of those, no, Fiesta sedan, yeah. Not a hatchback, an actual small car, but it was a little sedan. And something like $6,500. And I was 3 years old. What would you need a roadworthy on it? Change the tyres, maybe? Of course, I changed the oil, coolant, plugs, transmission service. I don't know if I'd even bother about the plug leads. And that'd be it, you know. I don't know that I'd buy a girl a car quite that new. Might buy myself one that new, but the fact is that you can get ones that grandma's old car that's only done, oh shit, honestly, about 35,000 miles. And these will be 1990s models that have not had anything done to them. They spent most of their life sitting in a garage. Your biggest problem would be battery sulfation, and $300. You know, and these things have had the nicest life and done about 35,000 miles, even though they're a 94 model Toyota. You know, and they're in Aussie terms, you know, they're only usually done. It's ridiculously low. It's like about 70,000 Ks or something like that. And some of those ones do come up where his grandma's died, and so what are we going to do? Just fuck this car off in the auction, you know. And yeah, but that wouldn't be a big deal at all, because you know, you get a car and it doesn't take you long to get it roadworthy if it's a decent car, especially if it's less than 10 years old, and off she would go. Anyway, these are just a couple of things that I've willing to do, you know, to make it all happen. I mean, I'm not too sure that I want some little Asian girl plus the thousands of dollars worth of flipping paperwork and crap and stuff that you got to prove that you're in a relationship, even though I don't even have a passport to go over there and spend time with a foreign bride. Anyway, we'll see how things roll out. As you guys know, you may know one lot of plans, there may be another lot of plans I'm not telling you about. We'll see what eventuates, but there's going to be one day where, you know, I've got to get married or I'm just going to be a fucking old man. Like, my grandfather got married 6 weeks off his 42nd birthday. And by the time my dad was like 19, 20, he was an old man. He was too old to help me dad really do anything like fix up cars, or he was just shuffling along, you know. He was beyond it, really. And they were only just out of their teens, me dad and me uncle, you know. And, you know, it's one of those things, you want to still be young enough so that you can actually enjoy having kids, sort of thing. But in this, you know, fucked up consumeristic world, it is not just consumeristic, because the Asians are becoming consumeristic, but guess what? They're still all married by age 26, you know. And hey, I've worked with ones, and like, if you work with Vietnamese, they'll often enough they'll ask it. Chinese will ask it. They'll definitely ask it. Afghanis will definitely ask it. Why aren't you married yet? And they sort of look at you as like, what the fuck's going on? You know, what, like, if you were to say that you can't get white girls to be serious enough to marry you, and don't just think it's me. I was thinking last night about the guys I used to work with at a vineyard, right? There's probably, now worked at, like, there's a whole stack of us all within about 3 years age of each other. At that same vineyard that my dad used to work at. And one of those guys I later worked with at Chinese Boss's vineyard. Long story short, I worked as there's 2 brothers, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 of us. there was 6 of us. Now, of those guys, there's 2 of them that probably weren't the characters that really get married. Me, the guy I worked with at Chinese Boss's Vineyard, one of the other guys who was a brother, he was blonde-haired, and another guy who also ended up working at the radiator manufacturers in a different department to what I was in. Out of us 6 guys, the guy who I work with in radiator manufacturing had 1 or 2 girlfriends, and then after we got our redundancy packages, I saw him down in the mall getting out of a car with a girl, and he had a wedding ring on. Long story short, the other blonde guy at the vineyard, maybe, possibly maybe, but I don't really think he would be willing to be, have enough commitment to have a girl in the long run. But he quite possibly, because he's quite good looking, he might have been dragged into a de facto relationship. All the other guys, nothing. Nothing. 1 out of 6 of us got married. And there might be another one who's a de facto. So we're talking like 2 out of 6. That was it. 2 out of 6. And we're all in our 30s now, and 1 out of 6, possibly 2 out of 6 has ended up with a woman. That's it. The guy I was working with at Chinese Boss's Vineyard had a job basically non-stop. He went from where I was, he was there for a year or 2 at that vineyard that I first knew him at, and he was at Chinese Boss's Vineyard for 9 years. He worked for the previous owner, and Chinese Boss took him on when he bought the property. The dude lived in the city in a townhouse / flat apartment thingy that was like fucking 3 years old or something. It was just fucking perfect. All the mod cons right near the trendy area of the city where all the yuppies hang out in their coffee shops. He had a car that was newer than mine. Yeah, he had a little bit of weight, but he wasn't flabby guts or anything like that. And pretty good looking, and didn't have a fucking hope. And I remember Chinese Boss was shocked to find out, he said to the other guy, "Are you single?" Oh, I have to get you a Chinese girl. And then he said, "What about you, Lincoln?" I said, "I'm single too." Oh, you're both single, was the response. Oh, you're both single. That was the exact flaming words. This is the thing, this is just, it's part of a breakdown in white culture. That's what I see it as. When there's guys who have got fucking houses that are beautiful, cars that are newer than mine, money in their pocket every week, don't look too bad, and there's no one around at all. Not even any prospects, not even any hope on the horizon. I see it as cultural failing. Anyways, that's my little rant about compromises I'd be willing to make, and the cultural failing that got us to the point we're at, and the point half the other guys I work with the vineyard are at.